Instagram specialist, and she has her own social club membership with, I think, 500 members now. Brooke, well done. So,
Party coming up.
Pardon?
Party coming up.
Yep, got the Bling It On party coming up. So, Brooke Valinovich from Villa Management, welcome. Okay, so second of all, I'd like to introduce one of Australia's most well-known and respected floral designers, who also has a huge Instagram presence, who watches Matthew Landers' Instagram stories. Hopefully we get to control the tongue this morning.
Behave yourself.
No, Muriel's not here. I told my mum she wasn't allowed to come because the last event that we did, if anyone was there, that was all about the fuck up in business. All my mum texted me after the event was the language was disgusting. And I was like, oh, you're so hard to please.
Does it need to be up there now that we can do it?
Yeah. So, Matthew Landers, welcome. And last but certainly not least, we have new mum Tara Simic. So Tara runs the Jungle Body. Who's done a Jungle Body workout before? How fun are they? So Tara has a new little baby boy. His hair is amazing. So if you don't watch her Instagram stories, then go and check him out because he features and he's so cute. Tara Simic, welcome.
Yeah, we should send him a profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me okay? So I don't have to keep putting that mic down. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. Alright, so I want to start with the theme of the morning. I'd love to know, and it's going to be an interesting question for you guys, what does balance for better or gender equality mean to you? Brooke, let's start.
Okay. I got a little bit stuck on this question, to be honest with you, because anyone I think that has worked with me before knows my motto is you do you. So, although I can appreciate the theme, I think that women should be celebrated for being amazing in a female-dominated industry. I think that men should be celebrated for being amazing in a female-dominated industry. I'm not going to say the other two because it's quite a tongue twister, but the opposite of that also, I think it's more about just you do you, stay in your own lane, and focus on what you're incredible at, and then the community that surrounds that supporting it, whether it is a man or a woman in that role. The end.
I thought about this too because, and I thought, oh, here on International Women's Day, I'm obviously not a woman. not anymore. But
I told you we're drag.
I was going to come and drag.
No.
They kind of would. I am a male, obviously in a very female-dominated industry, so I completely understand this. I think it's, there's that saying that, as you look over the fence to see what the other person's doing to their garden, yours is dying. And I feel that we have such an ability to make an impact by even just one Instagram post. Like I look at my stories and I see some of the highlights and that they've had hundreds of thousands of views. I'm just like, people are watching a 120 kilo man on a runway in my shop. And it's like,
Oh yes, they're watching.
women have the ability to stand out from the crowd, and I think we have these amazing women in business because they've had the balls to just be like, look at me, I'm amazing. And I think that's all it really takes is, that strength and that courage and growing a set of brass balls and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take control of this, and I'm going to be the one to watch.
Yes.
Adding on to what you just said, when I was like maybe 13, 14, my first sort of idol, the first person I looked up to was Julie Bishop. And I remember she came to an event at school or something, and I remember looking at her going, oh wow, like she's a woman, she's a politician. And so from that day forward, I always thought, if you're a woman who, like, you can do anything, Julie can do it. And it's not only, I suppose now that I've got older, I can see that there's actually not that many women in politics. But just it takes one person like Julie Bishop to inspire me to think that I can do anything. But I still think in Australia we're very lucky. Like when I looked at this question, I thought, in my little bubble here in Perth, we're doing pretty good. Like I can do whatever I want, I can be who I want to be, everything that we just said. I think the part that still concerns me, while I think we're still so far off gender equality, is in countries like Syria and all these other places around the world where we're still got to get to that point. And you know, when Meghan Markle married Prince Harry, I had a quick Google, who's Meghan Markle, as I'm sure most of us did. And she actually did this speech about gender equality. And she said in that speech that there was this, I think it's gender index or something, that said that we won't have gender parity until 2095. And then now it's changed to 2100 and something. So I think, look, we're just so blessed here in Perth to be able to do what we want to do and be who we want to be. But when I looked at what International Women's Day is standing for, it kind of made me reflect on the other countries and the other places where we just they don't have those options that we do.
So thank you for sharing your views. So now onto the business side of things. Let's expose your secrets. Tara, while we have you, can you share any weird, superstitious habits that you have, or morning routines or daily habits that you feel like have contributed to your success?
Yeah, well, it's so hard to ask you what your secrets are. So probably two things came to mind. The first one, which probably no one knows, and this is when I first started my business, and I literally had like a few $100s, because I started the Jungle Body when I was 18. So my bank account literally had like $200 from my birthday or something. You know? I needed help. I needed a graphic designer. I needed to start a website. You know, all the things that you need to do. And this was back 8 years ago. So this is like pre-Instagram. I think Instagram had been around, but I wasn't on it. It was a different world 8 years ago. So one thing I did, which probably no one knows, is that I went to a website called guru.com. I don't know whether it still exists. It's probably like what Airtasker is now. And I found someone that was online in some other country that was able to do a lot of the things which I couldn't do myself, and there's no way I could have afforded a Perth graphic designer to do. And especially back 8 years ago, it was, you know, really expensive to get a logo made. You're looking at like $3,000 or something. So that person that I ended up connecting with through this website where you post your job and then people, like Airtasker I suppose, and they say they can do it and they pitch, still works for me today. No one knows that. But a lot of the graphic design work and all the different things that that we use for Jungle Body, everything from website things, is all done by my friend. And he lives in India. He invited me to his wedding 2 years ago. Yeah. So we ended up forming this relationship. Not well, that sounds bad. We didn't form a relationship. I'm married, happily married. But yeah, that was something that there were so many things with the Jungle Body that I wouldn't have been able to afford when I first started it. I was able to do by outsourcing in that way. And the second thing, this is just a funny thing that I do every single day of my life, is I eat tuna for lunch. Yeah, and it's just and there's
What
not
brand?
one day.
What brand gets specific?
Yes.
Olive oil blend?
In olive oil, and I have to get it from Charlie's because I can't find it anywhere else where I get it from. Yeah. And no, but the reason I find that important is because I like to have a lot of structure, and I try to eat the same sort of things every day, and just because it's so hard being a mum and balancing everything. So my can of tuna is my go-to.
Love
Always
it.
can of tuna.
Love it. Tara, while we have you, can you just paint the picture for everyone how successful your business actually is? Like how many classes are you running a week, and how many people do you have working for you, things like that?
So very quickly, I started Jungle Body 8 years ago. I wanted to create a workout that had a little bit of boxing, a little bit of dance, just everything that I loved. Definitely wasn't going to be my career. I was working at PwC in accounting, but this was just an after-work kind of gig. Anyway, it took off, and we had hundreds of people attend that class. Fast forward 8 years, we've now got about 800 franchises in about maybe 16 countries now teaching the classes. In Perth, there's about 100 on per week. So it's grown from, something like just a little class I was teaching 8 years ago to now something that's kind of all over the world.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Alright, Matthew, what are your weird, superstitious things that you do?
How long have we got? So, I wouldn't say weird or superstitious, but it's very, very much a routine. Every single morning, the second I arrive into work, the first thing I do on my desk, on paper, is write myself what I call my top 5. And it's my 5 things that I have to get done for the day. And I'm not allowed to leave the store or my office until I've crossed off all those 5 things. So I make them very achievable and very realistic. And it might be something as simple as like, pick up dry cleaning, it's menial tasks sometimes, but it is things that you have to get done. Because then that way, every day I leave the shop or leave my office and I feel like, I did everything. I don't have to have that feeling at like 10 o'clock at night being like, oh shit, I need to write that down, I haven't done that, or all these things. I don't have that anymore. So, and the second thing I do, which is every single morning, is I look at my debtors list. Every single morning, I look at the snapshot of my business, I look at to the cent how much money we've taken, how it projects on our forecast, things like that. So, you think, and like, bitch, I've got some coins sitting around. And I just kind of like, but I never wanted to be that person that, rests on the fact that you go, oh, it's okay, the business is successful, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Never, ever, ever, ever. And like, if I've had somebody that's underpaid an invoice by 10 cents, I'm getting another invoice for 10 cents. Do you know what I mean? Like so I'm looking at every single thing like that every single morning. I look at the business and how it's performing, because then I have an immediate idea every single day of what we need to achieve for the day and if we're on track.
I do have a wicked morning routine, and if anyone wants to join me on my morning routine at any time, you're more than welcome. So, do you know what? This is the thing. If you do follow me on Instagram, you would have noticed that I was in New Zealand for 5 weeks, and it was not until I was in New Zealand that I realised how strong my morning routine is and how it really affects my mind for the rest of the day. And actually, do you know what? Not even just my morning routine, like my entire life. But that's okay. So I have people ask me all the time, I guess, how do I find balance? That I teach Instagram, and am I on my phone constantly? I'm like, well, actually, no, I'm not. So first of all, we don't sleep with our phones in our bedroom at all. Phones are not allowed in the bedroom at any time, only other things. And doing that, it stops you from wasting that time sitting in bed, like scrolling in the morning. I'm a very I have to get up and get shit done kind of person, otherwise I feel like I'm wasting my life. Or last weekend I didn't get shit done and I sat on the couch and I put my back out. It's not going to be fun. So I think getting up for me and getting onto it, and by onto it being not on my phone and being for me personally. So I turn my alarm off, that's what I do. And sometimes I turn it off and try not to look at it, because I know there's been stuff that's happened overnight and I don't want to see it and get distracted. And then I spend the first couple of hours of my day not on my phone. So I exercise every morning. It just helps clear my mind. And I think I listened to a podcast where I can't even remember what it was, but it said that if the first thing that you do in the morning is check your phone, then you're going to spend the entire day in a reactive state of mind, because you're just reacting to everything constantly before you got a chance to gather your own thoughts. And I had an aha moment when I read that, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I don't want to be like that. I want to be in control of my own thoughts. So I started implementing this no phones for 2-3 hours at the start of every day rule, and it's going well so far. Except this morning I was up at 2. And then I had to wait for an appropriate time to do a story, because I was like, oh, I hope I don't wake anyone up with this, so I waited till 4. You're welcome.
And isn't that what time the makeup artist arrives?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really like this question. So what did you do to grow your business that you've never revealed to anyone
to grow the business was be persistent. You know, like with my clients. You know, like I would go out and actively seek my new clients, and I'd be like, "Oh, hi, would you be interested in having some flowers on your reception desk every week?" "Oh no, you can't afford it." "No worries." Back again in a month's time. "Oh, can you afford it yet?" You know, like I'd love to. How about, you know, we do $100 instead of 120, or, you know, something like that. I was just relentless when it came to really pushing how I sold myself and how I marketed myself, and I think by choosing to do a name branded business was risky in itself, because I didn't want to create a legacy brand. I wanted to create something that was very much myself, and I think it was that being present and being the face as such. So making sure that if somebody calls, you know, and they get the fancy "Welcome to Matthew Landers," that they can actually speak to me on the phone. Like that was, I think, the real secret to building the brand, and having humble beginnings and not being ashamed of having humble beginnings. Like my first, you know, retail shop was small, it was humble, you know, and it was about just embracing it, being like, "Oh yeah, this is what it is. Like one day it'll be bigger and better," and it is, you know, and that's the thing. It's like embrace the fact and allow people to be on the journey, so that people feel like they're part of you. They get on the train at the first stop and they're more than willing to sit with you until the end of the ride. The other thing I did was, for instance, when I built my wedding business from the beginning, I would always offer an in-full payment discount. So for instance, if you came to me and the wedding quote came to $25,000, I would be like, "Yep, it's $25,000, but if you pay in full at the time of the booking, I'll do it for $22,250 or something like that." And the wedding might still be a year away. And what it did is it gave me a cash injection and allowed me to continually move the cash flow. There's a fine line when it comes to having a luxury business and promoting a luxury product and using the words discount, because that doesn't resonate with, obviously, luxury. So it's about creating a culture where it's like, "Bitch, you gotta get in quick." Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna be fully booked. You know, like, it's today or never, love. Like, credit card details while you're on the phone, or I'm gonna be booked. So it was about creating that culture from the very beginning, even like when I first started out in business, and I wasn't fully booked. But it was about just being like, "No, I'm sorry, your quote's only valid for 7 days because we book out, you know, 2 years in advance." And it was just anticipation of being like, it was me in my head going, "No, but I want to be booked out 2 years in advance." So it was about starting that mentality from the beginning and going, "No, one day I am," and I am now, you know, booked out so far. And really, actually, yeah, let me get my banking out. So it's about, like, you know, creating that mentality of like believing your own shit before anyone else does. And I think that was the thing. It was like going, "No, I'm sorry, it's now or never," and bringing that to my clients. And then my clients were just like, "Oh, well, I better get on board." So that, you know, obviously influx of cash flow allowed the business to grow organically. Obviously, well-managed cash flow. You can't just have someone pay you money and then go and spend it. But it did definitely allow the business to grow as it needed to. Ta-da!
A lot of the things I did when I first started the business, a lot of people didn't know. Like, for example, I was studying accounting, I was working at Pricewaterhouse, had this dream job that I got offered when I was at school, which was awesome. But to pay the bills to start the Jungle Body, I was doing personal training, unqualified, to get some money in. So I was doing so many things which, you know, I remember my mum going, like, "Oh, what are you doing? You know, personal training, you've got this amazing job at Pricewaterhouse." But I knew if I wanted to make the Jungle Body, you know, where it is today, I had to let go of your ego, and I had to hustle, basically. And as Matthew was saying, a lot of fake it till you make it. That was a lot of the first year or two of the Jungle Body, because people aren't going to believe in your brand, you know, if you have the shonky looking website and you know, and even like with dress to sorry, I was looking for you. It's amazing how much your appearance and things like that can make such a difference. And I was trying to sell a franchise to fitness instructors all over the world. So a lot of what I did was, trying to make, and then eventually that does come to reality if you keep believing that. Another thing was my business structure. When I first started the Jungle Body, so the instructors were paying between $25 and $50 a month. So I had about 5 instructors in the first year. So as you can imagine, the income of the Jungle Body was not a lot in the first year. You wouldn't have known that, but it was pretty much nothing. But my long-term goal was for the business to have hundreds of instructors, and that's how the business would work. And a lot of people came to me and said, why did you open up a Jungle Body gym in Perth? Why isn't there a Jungle Body gym still now in Perth? But it was that sacrifice that I made at the beginning because I knew the end goal was to have X amount of instructors, and that's the way this business would have grown. If I started a Jungle Body gym 8 years ago and had a big space paying Perth rent prices, which most of you business owners would know, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be sitting here because I would have had to close the business down. So sometimes you've got to make decisions that initially were hard work. I remember my husband going, why are you bothering? You've got this awesome job at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Why are you battling with this business making, a couple $100 a week? That's how much I was clearing at first. But I had a long-term goal, and then, as you said, persistence. It's those who persist. It's the entrepreneurs that persist and can push through those boundaries and those challenges. Then you can hopefully see the light at the end. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to then realise you were at the point where you could quit your job?
Yes. I remember being in university I was watching a lecture, and I texted my mum and I said, I think I can make Jungle Body work. Do you think it'd be okay if I leave uni? And she was like, my mum's the most supportive mum ever. She was like, of course, you're amazing, Tara. So I dropped out of uni when I had literally X amount of dollars coming in from the business. And that meant doing a bit of personal training, doing the running classes. I was running 12 to 13 classes a week at one point. Absolutely burnt out, had adrenal fatigue, all of those things. But I knew I just had to get that, and I had this amount of income, and that was when I could leave PwC and I could leave uni. So I definitely didn't do it out on a whim, and I don't suggest any entrepreneurs leave when you've got no revenue coming in. It's really important that, because sometimes that can kill you. You can kill your business if you don't have any financial stability. So I definitely got to a point, still a point of sacrifice, still a point where my husband was going, oh God, yeah, I'll pay for dinner, I'll do, I'll pay for everything. But, reaping the benefits now, and I had to, just keep pushing through.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so Brooke, you've seen some massive success in a short period of time. I think it's since 2 years that you've been really on this Instagram train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
2016.
Yeah.
I think I did my first workshop.
Yeah. So tell us your secrets. How did you grow so quick?
So I was really nervous to say this. But now that you guys have revealed what you've revealed, I'm not nervous anymore. So actually, the reason that this whole event came about is because I told Ash this. And I was like, I don't think I've told anyone this before. And I told her, and that's basically how the theme of Biz Secrets Exposed came about. So, okay, I never get nervous, this is weird. So, that little coffee catch-up where I met Ash, I was doing another business there. And a business that I had grown and launched purely on Instagram because I just thought that's what everybody else was doing. And then went to this coffee catch-up, and we had to go around the room and say what our biggest struggles in business were. And everyone said social media except me, and that was when the light bulb moment hit for me. So I contacted Ash afterwards and asked if we could do a workshop together, and then I wanted to run a workshop myself, but I knew the ladies that had come to the little coffee catch-up, but I didn't know anybody else. And when I say knew, like I'd seen their face, I did not know them on a personal level. So here I was, how the fuck am I going to sell these workshops? Who am I going to sell them to? Why would people want to come? Why are people going to believe me? So, oh no, I'm nervous. So, I'm not used to feeling this way. So I wrote this post, and the Perth Girl Bosses group, where's Kerry? No, I can't make eye contact with you right now. The Perth Girl Bosses group, when you used to be able to advertise in it. Was anyone in it then? Now there's the Perth Girl Bosses Find, Promote, Sell group for advertising, not of your personal things. So I put up this post, and I was like, hi, I'm Brooke, blah, 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 this is about me. I'm doing all these workshops and they're all sold out, and I've done all these sold out workshops. The end. And I was like, is this a really sneaky thing to do? But I didn't know anyone, so I wasn't like worried about people judging me because people didn't know me anyway. I would never do it now. Oh my god, I'd die.
It's true now.
Hey?
But it's true now.
Yeah, now it's true. So I think that idea of like, as long as you're not, I think there's a difference between like fake it till you make it and deception. And obviously the workshops were good. I know! Obviously the workshops were good, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But then I used the feedback from other people, and that's how I grew the workshops from there. And I think they were good.
Yeah. How many did you end up running and selling out?
Years.
Yeah.
It was years.
Yeah.
So I only stopped doing the workshops mid last year because the membership was doing so well. So that's my secret. Please don't hate me.
We still love you.
Thanks.
All right, going with the flavour of what we did 2 years ago, where we did Raw for International Women's Day. I'd love to know, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've made in business? Tell us your blunders.
There, I'll start. Okay, two that really come to mind. I don't know if, I'm sure that there was lots of people that followed me this time last year when I had a big Instagram blunder, where I had to make a public apology to somebody for misjudging something and making a mistake on Instagram and posting something that I shouldn't have posted, or perhaps had more forethought into what I was clicking post on. And the big thing that I learned about that was adding humanity to the post and it being genuine, and also just owning up to it and putting your hand up and saying, yeah, I've really fucked up this time. Hand on the heart, I'm sorry, but owning what the problem was. Because I could name a dozen people that I knew off the top of my head that would have just closed all of their social medias down and gone into hiding and pretended it wasn't happening. So I think it was about, that was probably one of the biggest learning things for me, was like, you know, being on Instagram and having so many people being like, you're so funny, oh my god. And then actually crossing that line in the sand, and then the people that actually do follow you and love you telling you, oh baby, you've gone too far. And that's when you go, cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, duly noted, and making sure that you don't make the same mistake twice. The other thing that I think, not necessarily a mistake, but I did touch on this the other day in our live, when I first started my business, although I really had a huge vision for it and wanted it to grow how it has, I didn't set the back end of the business up for that. So in the first 3 years of business, I paid about $200,000 worth of tax that I didn't need to pay. Horrendous. It nearly sent me to the wall. Do you know what I mean? I get emotional just thinking about it, because I got to the stage in the third year in business where I was just like, I've worked so hard for this, and then I get a tax bill from the ATO for $200,000. And shit a brick. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, how am I going to recover from this? Do you know what I mean? And then when you agree to go into a payment arrangement of $5,000 per week, do you know, and the brick gets bigger, and the asshole gets smaller. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the biggest. So I wish in hindsight, being on the other side of this, do you know what I mean? Being on the other side of that mistake, I wish I truly had have set the back end of the business up for the true vision for the business that I had from the beginning. Do you know what I mean? I wish I had have gone in and been like, oh, we're going to make this business of trust, and we're going to have 10 subsidiary proprietary limited companies, and we're going to make sure that we never pay tax. And, things like that. I wish I'd done that from the beginning and not just been like, oh, I'll be a sole trader, all good, So that's my biggest thing that I wish I regret, or thing that I wish I had done differently, is set the business up from the beginning for what the vision is that you want it to be.
So Matthew, with that first blunder that you shared, with the negative PR that you received, did it affect your business? Because they say that all PR is good PR.
All PR is good PR. The most alarming thing for me was just having something like 71 star reviews on Facebook, just from people being keyboard warriors. And I thought, fuck, how do I deal with this? Do you know what I mean? And I thought, no, rather than going into very obvious damage control, it's about being real. And I always think that the reason people perhaps say all PR is good PR is because when you have a negative review or negative response or something like that, it's all about how the business responds. All about how the business responds. And, you know, as soon as I put up a public apology, I had like 40 one-star reviews go, disappear. You know what I mean? People remove them. They obviously saw, okay, you know, like he knows that he's done the wrong thing and he's owned up to it, and you know, like, but you know, I'm just a fiery Sagittarian. Do you know what I mean? Like that was the thing. I think it was just a case of me being like, no, bitch, I'm right. You know, like, and it was just. I look back on it from a legal point of view, for instance, from what was actually posted, and I did nothing wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like it was simply an opinion, but it was a strong opinion which didn't go down necessarily well with the people that loved and followed me. So I had to be like, okay, this isn't what these people, this isn't it's like the age-old thing of like, this ain't my content. You know, this isn't my content, this isn't what I should be posting. So, you know, in light of having to go into damage control and having to act very quickly, you have to, this is the time where you don't think with your head, you think with your gut. Because my gut said you have to be honest and you have to put your hand up and say, yes, I did this. And it's about the business's response, you know, with heart, with humanity, and with acceptance that you have made a mistake. Yeah.
Okay, Tara, tell us about some of your biggest mistakes.
I've made many mistakes, but probably one of the first ones is, and this would be every business owner, is financial mistakes, spending where you probably shouldn't have spent. And this has changed over time. I remember the first big financial mistake was, well actually, you mentioned tax. Every small business you started and it's great, and then that year or two later you get hit. So that's one big thing, is to be on the ball with tax. But spending money on advertising, I remember putting an ad in women's health and fitness, and I thought, this is going to make my business. I'm going to spend $5,000 on this half page, I think it was probably a quarter page for $5,000, thinking that would transform the jungle body. Everyone in Australia that reads, you know, the magazine is going to want to know the jungle body. It did nothing, not one thing. And this was earlier days when social media wasn't as big, and then since then I started spending quite a big budget on online advertising. And again, a little bit of waste. What I've now worked out is the more targeted you can be, that is where you want to put your money, targeted. And it's so great that now we have the tools with Facebook and Instagram, and there's just so many things out there that can allow you to target, and that's what you want to do. Even now when we look at influencers to promote our business, we're looking at influencers that have even a small following, like 5, 10,000, 15,000 followers, because they have a really targeted market. So we've really changed our whole perspective on marketing from back when we started and all those mistakes. The second biggest mistake, which I'm like, oh, every single day, is my mailing list. If I had kept everyone's details, their name and their email address from when I started the Jungle Body, oh my God. We've had hundreds of people come to classes. I've had thousands of inquiries that, because I didn't have the back end set up correctly from day one, they're lost, or they're in some Excel document or some online website that tracks, you know, your email addresses. They're all over the place. Some are handwritten, and most of them are lost. So I really push now for all of my instructors, because our business is like a franchise, so we empower them to run their own Jungle Body business. I say mailing list is so important. Make sure you are keeping everyone's details, and obviously we're not spamming them, but make sure you don't lose that, because business and success is all about relationships. And how do you have relationships in this world? It's through online means, having no contact details. And even the Instagram tags now, so we have a very big list that we're building, that we add everything into, and now it's got, yes, name, email, stuff the phone number, because no one calls anyone anymore, and the Instagram name, yeah.
Can I add something to that? Because you just inspired me to think about something. When you say mailing list, because we've got a strong mailing list as well, every time I post a story on Instagram, I feel like I'm talking to my mailing list. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm reaching the people that are subscribed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, rather than spamming them with emails all the time, I just do a story and I'm like, hey bitch, what are you doing? You know, like, come and book this workshop we're doing or something like that, because it's my mailing list. So I'm at hand's reach constantly with Instagram.
Yeah, and I think that also shows how fast things are changing. Like, you know, it was all about the feed. Now it's all about the story. You know,
Yes.
so you've really got to get in first. You've got to stay like current. I remember Instagram first sort of not launched, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm so busy with Facebook. Like I can't deal with Instagram right now. And we're a bit latecomers with it, and I definitely didn't put any energy into it. You know, I put up whatever photo I had on my phone that day. You know, we all know those people that got into Instagram quite early on, they're really reaping the benefits, and it's a lot harder now. You even see like a lot of Instagram influencers that have massive followings, and then they go to launch a new business of theirs, and they struggle to get it to past 10,000 followers when they may have millions on their personal page. And that always proves to me because it's hard work. So you've got to stay current. Stories is like where it's at right now, like you said, so you've got to do it.
Leading on from that, I think it's a nice segue into you, Brooke, but I want to know, obviously it was Facebook first, then the Instagram feed and the Instagram stories. What's next, Brooke, do you reckon?
Well, you may have seen I've just moved on to YouTube. So I guess being aware that something that definitely plays on my mind, if I get too in my mind, is like, oh my god, what if I wake up tomorrow and Instagram shut down? So diversifying across the platforms, and I think it's been really good for me on YouTube now as well because I have no fucking idea how it works. I literally don't know what anything means. It took me like 6 hours to work out how to upload a video, and it's almost good market research because it put me back into the mind of my customer and what they go through and how frustrating it is. So, what was the question?
Sorry, you answered. YouTube is next big thing.
I think YouTube's always been a big thing, but when I say that, I've wanted to start a YouTube channel for a really long time, but I kept coming back to what can I offer of value on YouTube that also isn't undercutting what my social club members are paying for, because I'm aware of that as well. So I didn't rush into it. This has literally been on my mind for like 2 years, and it just so happened that, where is she? Ashy. So Ashley's in my membership, and this whole influencer thing started coming up, and it's becoming quite topical. And Ashley messaged me or commented in the group and said, could we do a video together? And with the social club, I'm very aware of the lessons being applicable to everyone in there. So I was like, oh, I want to do it, but it's not going to apply to everyone in there. What can I do? And ding, ding, ding. And then I was watching 10 Things I Hate About. No. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and I was like, oh, I can do how-to series, and that's what I've now done. So I did How to Influencer with Ashley and How to with Matthew, and I've got quite a few coming up, which doesn't undercut what people are paying for, because I think you need to be really careful of that as well.
So those interviews are amazing. Go and watch them on YouTube today. So Brooke, what are some of your biggest mistakes you've made in business?
Oh God, so many. Something that I guess it's not huge. Okay, my first one. Looking back, I wish I'd started my personal brand sooner. Sort of opposite to what Tara was saying, in that there's these people that have these huge personal brands and then they start businesses. Mine's been kind of opposite. That I found when I was speaking at events and I had no brand for Brooke. That people were like, what's filler management? That there was a total disconnect. So I think upon reflection, I wish that I'd started my personal brand a little bit sooner than now. I didn't, for whatever, I don't know, I was just busy. But that would be probably my tip if you're at that. I think your business has to be at a certain point before you do that, but if you're questioning whether you should, just do it. If it's already in your mind, do it, because otherwise you're playing catch up. And then, my massive fuck up. So the members know this. Oh, I hate even talking about this. When I launched the membership, the payment platform that I use had a massive glitch. And it just so happened that one person would email me and say, oh, has the price for the membership changed? Because I got charged this random charge. And I was like, no, that's weird. Went into the back end of everything, double checked everything was in. My first thought was it's not in Australian dollars, but it was. So I was like, weird, I don't know what's happening here. And then it came in like a bloody hurricane. all day, every day, people, and it was always a different amount. There was no consistency to the amount, and that's what was really confusing as well. So this started, I think, 2 weeks before my wedding, which was today last year. And so in the entire lead up to my wedding, I was on the computer trying to work out what was going on. On my honeymoon, I was trying to work out what was going on. And all I knew was that my customers were getting overcharged. Uh-oh. Are you okay?
So, I hope someone's filming that. That's good content, though.
Sorry. Silver lining. And basically, long story short, we ended up, I had 2 payment platforms blaming each other, and even when I worked out what was going on and confronted this platform, they said to me, oh well, you've made a few extra bucks. What does it matter? And I think from your side of sort of saying, just, I don't care if it was a cent more or $1,000 more. When you have allowed people to trust you with their money, it's not okay. And so I was at a place where I was almost at 100 members. I didn't really know what to do or how to fix it. So I didn't want to lose all the members. So I worked pretty much for free for almost 2 months because I didn't want to lose these members. So I lost tens of thousands of dollars during that time. But what was more valuable to me than the money was the relationships that I had built. And I think if you can focus on, like Tara was saying, your relationships with your customers, the money will come. And it all obviously worked out, but that really sucked. Yeah, and that, again, it was over the time of my wedding when it's a very expensive time in your life. And money is going out and out and out and out. And nothing was coming in. So that was also quite stressful. But you've just got to be open and honest with your members. And I had to literally go in the membership, do a live and be like, I know you're all getting overcharged and I don't know why. And that was hard to do. I feel like emotional even saying it right now. But you don't want to abuse the trust of those people because once trust is gone, oof, it's hard to get back. Yeah.
I remember getting those distress texts from you.
Oh, and Ash helped me so much. This woman is it anyone's first interaction with Ash today? Okay, she is the most amazing person in this room. Everyone's amazing, but she's so helpful and so understanding and so kind and so supportive. And I think that you don't get enough recognition because my business would not exist if it wasn't for you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Pleasure.
All right, so we have one last question. I'd love to know, let's stay with you, Brooke, what's coming up in the biz pipeline for you that no one knows about yet?
Oh my God, so many things. Okay, so, what's coming up? Where should I begin? So, the membership is doing its thing. Over the past sort of, how long has it been? 12 months and a bit. I've been able to, I think, really nail the stepping stones of launching a business using Instagram. So I've started working on an online course because I'm aware that everyone learns in different ways, and I was always very anti doing an online course, as Kerry would. I was like, no, I will never do an online course, but I think that there are people that do enjoy it, and at the end of the day, it's about what your customer wants, not what you want to do. Otherwise, how do you grow a business? So, online course. The YouTube is actually a fortnightly series, so I will be interviewing business owners from around Perth and sharing that information for free. And there is actually so many good tips in those free interviews, so you can definitely learn from them. For the social club members, I'm working on something very cool and exciting as a reward for loyal members. So stay tuned. I can't reveal what that is just yet because of some legalities, but there's something very cool coming. And I think that's it. Yes. Is there anything I forgot? you, my husband cried because it's our 1 year anniversary today, and we both love Home and Away, it's not just me. And I wrote out the lyrics to the song in his card, and I was in the boardroom getting my makeup done, and I went back into the apartment, and he was like, and it was very cute, and I was all like, I've got to go, don't touch me, I love you, bye. Yes.
I believe you'll be on Home and Away one day.
Oh, I fucking hope so. There was that time when Leah was getting like all into blogging, and I was like, oh my god, this is my moment. It wasn't.
Alright, Matthew.
Do you want to be on Home and Away too? Oh my god, maybe we can.
Why would I want to be on someone else's show when I should have my own
Yeah.
show? Just saying. Yeah. I don't want to share the money, darling. The biggest thing that I've spent a little bit of time, which no one knows about, in the last few months I've spent a lot of time going through the process of copywriting and patenting, which is actually much more time consuming and horrendously more expensive than I ever imagined, and the process of licensing my brand as well. Because my plan, hopefully by the end of this year, is that one of the 2 major department stores that we know in Australia, the Matthew Landers flowers will be available in the flagship in every state. So, fingers crossed.
Okay, Tara, what's in the pipeline?
Well, I have a 3-month-old and a 23-month-old, so 2 boys under 2. So my near future just looks like nappies and food on my lounge and yes, toilet training. So that's the reality. No, but I think, look, I've got 2 boys. So the last 2 years has been a time where I've had to just accept that I can't achieve every single thing I want to do. For example, next 2 weeks I'm going to the UK for Jungle Body stuff, and I just yesterday had to buy a $400 breast pump that can recharge so I can take it on the plane, and all these things. So there's a lot of sacrifices, and I'm cool with that, and I love that. And I think part of being successful is being happy. And ever since day one, I've always put that number 1. So I, put my husband first and my kids first, and then comes the business, and that's how I find happiness, when I've got that balance. So the next kind of 12 months, I just accepted. I've said to everyone, I'm going to be in the UK once, I'm going to be in Sydney once, and if you can come to that, come, but if not, I can't be there. Even though there's so much I could be doing, and I think we all know, everyone's always saying, you could do this, you could do that, you should be doing this, why aren't you here? Even being pregnant and running the business, there were so many times when, I could have done some Instagram posts and I could have done this and that. So for me, the next 12 months is just making sure I've got a balance and getting sleep and all of those sorts of things, and still making sure the business is moving forward. And then my plan is, once the babies are kind of grown up a little bit, to get back on the train, I suppose, which I was on just before falling pregnant. But I'm happy with that, and I'm celebrating that, and it's good. And yes, you could be doing a lot more, maybe I could be making more money in the next year, but it's about happiness. And I think if you can go home and you're happy in your relationships, like, that's success.
I think your next 12 months and my next 12 months are going to be very similar. Alright, so I'd love to throw it over to you guys. Who has a question?
Rude.
Matthew loves selfies, so if anyone wants to jump on up.
Lauren. Hi, I have a question for Matthew. I watched your live with Brooke the other day, and something I loved about what you said was just because someone can't afford something doesn't mean it's too expensive. I love that. Awesome.
Yeah, I loved. I wish that I could. Are you ready for an actual secret? Okay. If you've ever received an email from me, and I know that some of you might have, I know Erica's going to go and check every email she's ever received from me now. Sometimes what I do is, like, in the email, right, you have the text and stuff like that, then I'll write something bitchy and put it in white. So I actually change the text colour to white, so you can't see it. So if I'm responding to a client being like, I'm terribly sorry, we're fully booked, I wrote, bitch, you can't afford it, in white. And I've highlighted it to white. So the actual words are in the email. So I feel really good because I've got it off my chest. Yeah. So there's been a few times, I don't do it every time, but every now and then someone really gets on my goat and I'm like, bitch, I'm going to sort you out. And I write something and I highlight it and I change the text to white. But no, I'm a big believer in just because you can't afford it doesn't mean it's expensive. We can't always afford everything we love, so it's I'm not for everyone and everyone's not for me. Yeah, sometimes if you copy, or I have been caught out once, it was cute though. I was like,
So Lauren, I think you just exposed the biggest secret.
That wasn't even my question. I can't even ask the question now.
tell me.
Ask it anyway.
Come on.
So my question was, have you dealt with like haters who are, bitchy about pricing or any of that sort of stuff? Have you dealt with haters, and if so, how do you sort of deal with them, either like in person or like keyboard warriors?
Okay, there's both, right? I also think that the longer that you add logs to the fire, the longer it's going to continue burning, right? As an example, I get funny sometimes, like we had a huge wedding on Sunday, right? Huge budget, and I posted a picture of it, and I just sat there and I waited, and I thought, oh, wait for all the comments that are going to come being like, oh, it's okay when there's, budgetless, and it's okay when you've got the money, and I'm just like, don't put the negative in something, just be like, oh, this is really beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it was. And I am a big believer, especially in person, on the phone or online, is just committing to it. Because let me tell you, if you go into an Hermes store and it's just like, oh darling, how much is that up there? And they just turn around, they look at you deadpan, and they're like, that bag's $25,500. Would you like it? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm all about that. I'm just like, well darling, that bouquet's $100. That's it. It's about committing to it and allowing things to be matter of fact, because I think when you are committed to something and just being like, oh baby, that's how much it costs. That's it. And I hate when I go into, say, a shop or something like that and someone says they're like, oh, that's $150. Is that okay? Who asks, is that okay, after you're telling somebody how much something is? So when you're dealing with haters, it's just a matter of like, staying strong and knowing your value and knowing your worth and knowing that whatever price tag you've put on it, you haven't just plucked out of thin air, it's worth it and you're committed to it.
Well, first thing I would say is, because what you're in and what I'm in is something that's quite a saturated market, right? There's a lot of health and fitness things out there. It's endless how many things there are. So the main thing I would say is, what makes you different? Why would I go to you and not the girl next door, the brand down the road, the big global company that's got a monopoly versus the person that's working from their home? You really have to work out what is it that makes you different, and that is what you need to put out there constantly and in every post. I also believe if you're genuine and you love what you do and you're passionate about it, that's what will sell it. But what people sometimes do wrong is that, yeah, they're passionate about it, they love it, it's so awesome, but they don't actually show that. Is everyone actually seeing that? It's like sometimes when you meet someone in real life, you've seen them on Instagram, and then they're completely different in real life. they're obviously not showing who they really are. I think you two show exactly who you are, and that's why you're so successful. People fall in love with you because you give such a genuine portrayal all day long, or through your posts, and that's what people connect with. Especially in a world these days where there's thousands or millions of people we can follow. There's millions of people out there which you can follow, millions of businesses and things like that. You have to show what makes you different. And I always come back to, why would I go? Every time I run an event, I always think, if I saw this on Instagram, why would I go to it? Or, this class, how would I feel if I was going to it? Because there's a lot of things you see on Instagram, you just scroll by, you keep scrolling, blah, blah, blah. Are you putting blah, blah, blah posts out there, or are you putting a post? So with my marketing manager, we look at every month at what posts were the most successful, and we look at why were they really successful, and we have to keep not repeating that, but look at why. Ask yourself why.
Can I add to that as well? Because I often think about the fitness industry as something that's really oversaturated. So whenever I scroll and I see people with beautiful bodies, beautiful aesthetics, everything like that, and you think, bitch is beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Some photo of her with some raised cheek and an arched back, and you look at the side boob and you're like, wow, she's worked really hard for that body. I think the thing that would actually inspire me to want to be her is actually looking at posts or content that's 12-week body transformation. This is what week 1 looks like. It looks like you're sitting at your kitchen table in tears over the fact that you can't eat. Week 2 looks like the fact that you're vomiting on the floor in a gym because you're trying to exercise. Week 3, do you know what I mean? The actual reality, it's just if you want this body, baby, this is really what you're going to go through. That I think would resonate with me more than looking at photos of abs and ass cheeks. So I think everyone's gonna see the reality.
Can I? Look, my personal opinion is it depends on your clientele. Who are they and where are you? There. Oh, I was like, where am I looking? What are they? It all comes down to what are they going to resonate with. So if your target market is a bodybuilder, they're going to resonate with complete different content to a first timer in the gym, and you do really need to profile who it is that you're speaking to on Instagram and put yourself into their minds. How are they feeling? What are they experiencing on a day-to-day basis? And don't be, because are you a personal trainer? Yeah. So you're selling you. And people are going to want to come because of you. They're not going to want to go to exercise. I don't even go to the gym because I like exercising. I like the people that are there. I literally go every morning because I'm quite extroverted, if you haven't noticed. I go every morning to be around the people. I hate the exercise, it sucks. So don't be afraid to really get on camera and sell yourself, not in a phony way.
And not everyone has that mentality of not liking, because you put it out there straight away that they're not going to wanting to die and
Totally.
like that. Your market may be the other, jungle body people are obsessed with it. They're not fitness junkies, they don't lift weights, they don't like the treadmill, but they are very excited by fitness. So work out exactly who your market's going to be.
Thank you so much. Jessie. Stand up.
Stand up, Jessie.
I love your personality coming through. Matthew, I started following you because Liz told me to. And just to really frank, honest, and I think you're really yourself in what we see this morning. And I want to know though, have you always felt comfortable sharing yourself, your true self? And how have you, or if you didn't, how did you become comfortable with that?
Wow, that's deep. Just to give a really quick background, I grew up as a fat child. Do you know what I mean? I was that kid that was always fat, gay, teased, bullied, and all I wanted to do was get out of school. So that's why I left at the end of year 10, and then went straight into the world, was swept under the wing of Liza Minnelli and all the other homosexuals, and was put into a situation where drag was something that I did for well over a decade, really successfully. And that actually allowed me to be more confident in myself, I guess, from putting on a face, do you know what I mean? Putting on a facade. And I think that after time I learned that you actually don't need that. People actually really just want to see your true self. And it's about taking the makeup off. And I think that there's nothing wrong with, you know, seeing fresh-faced women, you know, like being real and being like, I'm sitting on the toilet, I've got a baby, you know, hanging off me, you know, like this is real life. There's nothing wrong with that, it's beautiful. So that's why I think I implemented, when stories became a thing on Instagram, I was like, I just have to be myself. I just have to be real. I have to say what I'm thinking, show people what we're doing in the middle of the night where they think it's just all pretty playing with flowers all day and stuff like that. But then I think that the true success with that comes having the goods to back it up. Do you know what I mean? Like I can be, you know, a bit funny, a bit camp, whatever on Instagram, but then I'm just like, bitch, I just won a medal at Chelsea Flower Show. Do you know what I mean? It's like this. It's about having the backup. You know, like there's a difference between setting yourself up as a personal profile as a comedian or a business. You know, so it was just like, no, I've got the business. I'm just adding a little bit of extra, and just having the confidence. And there's nothing wrong with having your double chin visible on Instagram and stuff like that. Like just show yourself, show people. The more that people, there's a couple of people in the room that I've spoken to about this at length, and it's just like, show yourself. People want to see you. That's why we follow you. You know, like because we love what you do. All we want to do is see you and engage and connect with you more. So yeah.
One more question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jane. I'm the last in life change coach. So it's a little bit on the back of that. Would you be happy to share your secret recurring self-sabotaging fault that you have?
Yeah, I hate my voice. I hate it. It really bothers me. When I was a little kid, I hated my voice. And okay, I was thinking about this the other day because I talked about it in my social club webinar. Do you remember back in the olden days when there was answering machines? And the whole family would do their like, hi, it's Brooke, it's blah blah blah, it's blah blah blah. I was always like, I don't want to go on air because I sound like a dickhead. And so then you get the confidence and you put yourself out there, and then someone comes along, they're like, oh my god, your voice is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. And you're like, there's that moment where that like little girl comes back and is like, and then I think, well, fuck you. I'm making a lot of fucking money off this voice. So fuck you. That's mine.
I think we all have an inner saboteur that kind of comes out and comes to light. I think for me, every now and then someone will respond, for instance, to an Insta story that doesn't like me or doesn't like what I've had to say, and it is cutting. Do you know what I mean? And it immediately takes me back to a really horrible, dark place of my teen years, and I just have to be like, beach, please, delete. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just don't even engage anymore. Once upon a time, I would have gone into a diatribe being like, fuck you, you bitch, you know, like whatever. But now I'm just like, you know what, my inner saboteur is only fuel when I allow the negativity in. So I just don't allow.
And, sorry, can I just add to that? It never goes away. Because the bigger you grow, unfortunately, the more people you're exposed to that don't like you, as well as do like you. And behind a keyboard, oof, they can be nasty. They would never say it to your face, but you just, I guess, get tougher skin.
My one, hands up, who's mum in the room? Okay, so I think maybe most of you would have this. Ever since I became a mum, the reoccurring thought that goes through my head is this the right thing for my kids? Am I working too much today? Should I, like, for example, my husband comes from a very traditional Croatian family where the woman doesn't work. So I'm like the opposite of what he kind of grew up to know.
Same.
There you go. Croatian.
Same.
And look at us. that is a continual thought that just pops in my mind. It doesn't stop me. It definitely, because I'm the sort of person that takes that and I thrive from it, it makes me better. I do feel like every day I'm trying to prove to myself that I can do it. It's actually making it better because I'm getting more balance, I'm getting more in control of things. So it's not a negative thing, but that's the thought that goes through my mind. I think it goes through all mums, especially mums that have their own business, because it's 24/7. You were talking about you were working on your honeymoon. I worked on my honeymoon. Like it's, I remember when I gave birth in labour, I was on my phone in labour, early labour. Through my phone when I was at the end part of labour.
Doing a story?
I did put up a photo afterwards. Yeah. So it was funny, just off the topic. When I walked into the room, they said, "Do you want a trainee midwife?" And I said, "Yeah, cool, yeah, that's fine." She walks in and goes, "Oh, it's you, I love Jungle Body." Right, there I am, like spread, great. But anyway, that's my recurrent thought every day. But you've got to take those thoughts and you've got to grow from them. Yeah, that's it.
Can we get a huge round of applause for our So I'd like to invite Lynn from the Gifting Pot to the stage. So Lynn has some gifts for you guys to thank you for being so open and honest with us and sharing your secrets. I'm sure everyone's going to go check their emails from Matthew Landers now.
What text?
So Lynn has kindly sponsored these gifts for us this morning, so I just want to share a bit about her business. Gifting Pot provides the ultimate in quality gifts and are ideal for corporate or personal needs. Lynn, better known as the Gifting Queen, provides splendid and practical gifting that enhances space. Instead of the usual throwaway box or basket, her gifts start with a garden pot and a sachet of seeds, and it's built on from there. If you're searching for something unique and special, she's on Facebook and Instagram and has a great website, so check it out. www.thegiftingpot.com.au. So it's the gift that keeps on growing. So who's this one for? Am I on your way?
Thank you. I didn't enjoy putting this together.
I was like, but you're about to give me my own flowers. For real.
Something for your dog is in here as well.
And Lynn also organised a special surprise for Brooke.
What are the
Stop it.
flowers?
Oh, Lynn.
And so you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, they're yours. When you said you were going to Matthew Landers,
I did.
was that to get
Yes,
these?
yes. And I just want to say, I'm a member of this ladies' club. If you haven't joined, you need to join. Because, seriously,
Okay, so now it's time to draw the raffle. Does anyone not have a ticket that I want to run and quickly get the ticket? Up the back there, and we'll be back in a few minutes to draw the raffle, so stick around.
Yeah, let's go get a raffle ticket. Assuming they've got FPOS.